guys, welcome to Third Generation in the Field. Well, as you can tell, we're in a pretty good spot here. Second weekend of the season, and Randy scored a nice 8-pointer. So what we're going to do here, since it's early, we didn't get a lot of footage on this deer. We got a little field footage and things like that. With the weather, it's been raining for the last couple weeks here in Wisconsin, and the video equipment, it's been hard to get it out in the woods and things. We got some footage of the deer in the field. But what we decided to do here is we're over at our good friends at Artisan Taxidermy here in Burlington, Wisconsin. And they're going to give us some tips, and we're going to run through the proper way of skinning a deer to prepare it for a taxidermist. A lot of guys always wonder where I should cut it, where I shouldn't cut it. And Joel, the owner here of Artisan, is going to go through and he's going to give us some tips and show us how we should skin and cape a deer out for bringing it in to have it mounted. So we're going to get with it here, get Joel over here, and we're going to go through it. All right, guys, we're with Joel from Artisan Taxidermy in Burlington, Wisconsin. What we're going to do here is he's going to kind of give us a little tips. We're going to start with how to prep the deer in the field. Getting it here will make these guys' job a lot easier and make the mounts look that much better instead of hacking into her and cutting her the way that I'm sure you see some nightmares.
Oh yeah, we have to fix a lot of nightmares at the end of the year for sure.
So what would be the best thing to do out in the field?
Your first thing out in the field is doing just like they did here. When they gut the deer, they stop at the beginning of this rib cage. Granted, we're not going to need this much cape. It's better to have enough than not enough. In case you do a pedestal mount or something like that, we'll have plenty of action in here.
Okay.
Your first thing when you get this thing dressed out, ask your taxidermist. There's some taxidermists that like short incisions down the back of the neck, some that don't care. Me, I prefer the long incision all the way down the back. It's a little easier to work with. But again, ask your taxidermist. Some of them don't want it, especially with short-haired deer. They just want a short incision right here so they don't have a full seam. Okay. But if they take your time, the seam won't be an issue.
Okay.
Alright, your first thing you want to do is start at these knees. Don't go up past the knees, stay right at the knee, that way you're sure that you have ample cape for us.
Okay.
Like I said, that way no matter what pose, and just cut straight around the knees. You can do that on both sides. Alright, there's a white line, I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's the white line and the brown line right here, runs right up the leg, and that's right where you want to cut, is straight up this leg. You want to stay on that line. You don't want to go into the white because that's going to be on your form, and you don't want to go into the brown because then you're going to cut yourself short of your form. So when you cut this, you go straight up that line to split the two. You can see it splits right in half where there's no white on the brown and no brown on the white.
Okay.
You go all the way up past the knee. You're going to see it gets into this long hair. Continue to do that all the way up. So you can see what I'm doing here. It'll come to the end of it where it goes, and just follow that up another 6 inches. So you're almost to the beginning of where you stopped at the rib cage.
Okay.
Okay. Now there, you can cut straight across to the rib cage.
Okay.
All right. And repeat the same thing on the other side. Again, you split right up that white and brown line, all the way up through where you see this long hair starting. You just keep on that edge.
Okay.
You'll come up, you'll see where the short hair of the armpit is. Again, go past it, up to about that rib. We're not going to use this much cape, but like I said, it's better to have too much than not enough.
Okay.
Cut straight across. Okay. Turn your deer, hopefully. And you can start right behind the ears. There's a natural V right here. Some guys use a 7 cut, some use a Y. I like to use a Y cut, so I just kind of imagine a Y right here, and I put the knife in right at the back of the head. And when they're hanging, if you hang them by their back feet, you'll get a really nice straight cut where you're not going to be on your show side or anything like that. You run straight up the back of the head, straight down the neck.
Now see, that's new to me. I've always rolled them off their neck.
This will make your skinning job much easier.
Okay.
Making
see, I'm always
sure,
afraid of touching anything around the neck. You know?
Nope, you're fine. Once you get past these shoulders, you'll see where your line is again.
Okay.
Okay. You can go straight around. Now you can see your shoulder is here, so you know that's going to be on form that much extra.
Okay.
That way, if we got a pedestal, we have fur to go around the backside.
Okay.
All right. Now you got that cut. You do the same cut to the other way. straight across. And you'll hit your first incision. You're all open.
Okay.
Now all your prime cuts are done. There's nowhere to go from there but to skin it off. You don't have to try and get real clean with it, because that's, if you're unfamiliar with it, that's where you're going to cut holes. A lot of people now, you can just pull, and this hide should peel right off.
Okay.
If it's real warm, it'll come off real easy. And you just skin it all the way down. I like to do it a little cleaner when we're in here. If you have the option of taking it to the taxidermist, by all means do so. But if you're out in the field, if you're up north or something like that, and it's too warm to let them hang around, and you have to do it yourself, do so.
Now, when you get the hide off, is there anything special you should do? I mean, a lot of guys freeze it. Some guys put salt. I know you don't like to see the guys putting salt on it.
I don't recommend salt, because all salt's going to do is dry this hide out premature. Then we have a hard time getting any membrane that's off here off without cutting holes.
Okay.
You're best off, get it cold, get it in the freezer if you can. Don't want to soak it in water. If you're going to pack it in anything cold other than ice, dry ice is the best way, because then you don't have it sitting in a puddle.
Okay.
It's you're, like I said, once you, and on top of it, when you do skin this off, we'll say you're skinning a warm deer. It's warm season right now, as you mentioned. It's September, 75 degrees outside. When you skin this animal off, the skin will cool relatively fast. Roll that skin out so this skin side is up, getting air. That'll get all the heat out of it before you roll that thing up and put it in a freezer. If you roll it up warm, it's going to insulate itself and it'll cook your skin. And then you'll have hair loss and your mount will be no good.
Okay.
That's real important. Get the thing as cool as fast as possible. You know, keep it in the shade. If you have fly problems, you know, where you're laying it out and it's getting cool and you got flies landing on it, get a little container of black pepper and sprinkle it on the hides, and the flies will leave it alone.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's a nice tip.
You know, even when you got them hanging in a tree for around your hindquarters and around your eyes, if you don't have the time to skin it, just sprinkle it around. It's not going to do anything to your meat, you know, but it'll help protect you from getting larvae on there or whatever.
Okay.
Alright, and you just work your way down to the base of the head, down to about the ears.
Okay.
Which doesn't take too long usually. Being new, you know, it might take you a little longer. Just take your time. You know, it's not going to hurt you to take your time.
You know, I noticed too when I'm doing them, I see you're using a little blade. You see some guys that come out and they got these big honking blades.
You don't need a big knife.
Not much more than an X-Acto knife, really.
Right.
That's all you, you know.
The smaller the blade, I feel, a little bit better off you are. You got more control of that blade. You got a big stiff buck knife. You got no control. There's no flex to it. You don't need a big buck knife.
End up with a hole in the hide.
Yeah, and especially this time of the year, in the fall, holes can be accepted because they can be fixed relatively easy. On a short-haired deer, they're extremely hard to fix, you know, because there's nothing there to hide a seam.
Right.
So you're best off to play a lot of caution when you're doing these early deer. Any deer, you know, any kind you cut a hole, it just takes away from the mount that little bit.
Okay.
So, now that we're down to the base of the head, you can remove it.
Okay.
When then you can get into skinning your back half off. And I don't know if you want to show this on there, but what we'll do is we just cut right here, just the top side of the hide, all the way to the bone.
Okay.
All the way to the bone, all the way to the bone. We just go all the way around the head. By doing that, you're going to free up all your tendons. And if luck is on my side, if you can hold the feet.
Okay.
Now, late in the season, I wouldn't recommend this, you know, around December, because some bucks do get loose antlers and they can drop.
Yeah.
This early season, you're never going to break a set of deer antlers. You can twist the neck like this, putting pressure on you with your hand, and one thrust and the head will come off.
Wow. That's pretty
So,
slick.
yeah, there's no sawing. It just pops off, and then there's your finished cake. Now, of course, we got to skin the face and everything like that, but that way you can get that to the taxidermist. If the deer is warm, like I was explaining before, lay it out just like this. 15-20 minutes. Let the air get to it, let it cool off, then close it back up. you know, and you can roll it up. Don't roll the ears in. Let that face continue to cool because there's a lot of meat in there. You don't want hair slippage. Bacteria, we're just like us. We decompose right when we die.
Yep.
They're no different. So
okay,
let her cool.
All right. Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to get this deer prepped the rest of the way, and then we're going to do a little quick bit on quartering it out real fast, and we'll be out of your hair.
Perfect.
All right. All right, guys. Joel's going to show us a cool tip here. Make sure that there's no hair back on the deer. He runs a torch over it, cleans her all up before we quarter.
Yep, just like singeing your ducks and pheasants and stuff like that. Anywhere that you would have hair, it just singes them and makes it disappear. That way when you got scrap that's going to the processor, you're not sending a bunch of hair in for sausage.
Right.
You know, keeps it nice and clean.
And also, we were talking here when he was finishing the cape. The way I usually used to do it, I used to cut the legs and tube it off, and you'd always end up with an excess amount of hair. The way Joel showed us, by cutting it up the back of the neck and rolling it off the legs, everything's intact. There's hardly any hair on this deer. I mean, I know he's done quite a few of these, but it is a much better way to do it. And hey, I learned something here too, so.
That's what it's all about.
That's
Learn
right.
something new every day.
There you go. All right, guys, here we go. We're going to start quartering it.
There's a bone right here, right below the rear end you can feel, and just make a straight cut straight across. You can see your spine. You place your knife right in along the spine and run straight down. All the way to the shoulder. And you can work this way out. Sometimes if they're warm, they'll peel right out with virtually no effort. If you got any problem, you can always score it right here to break that membrane off, and then just pull your back straps out clean.
Looks like we're going to be eating good tonight, Randy.
Yeah. And a lot of guys will take the time, they sit there and pick the tallow off these back straps, like carving away. That's unnecessary to do. Once you get that back strap free, that tallow goes free. You can work your finger underneath it. Now there's no pulling, no whittling. That's how fast you can get it off. Now you can pull your silver
skin. Perfect.
Alright, I'll give you that.
Yep.
Alright. The front shoulder doesn't have any joint or knuckle in it. So all you got to do is pull it to where you see your skin tight and just make a cut there. And that shoulder, you just keep cutting backwards, will drop right off. That's how easy the front shoulder is to get off. And they're both the same way. Like I said, there's no guesswork, no bone to cut through. You don't even need to take the feet off. The feet actually add as a good gripper for you to hold on to. You can saw them off after the quarter's on the ground.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. We're going to get back to quartering this. Thanks for joining us here at Third Generation in the Field. Hopefully you learned something. Thank you so much, Joel, for helping us out here.
No problem.
We're going to get this thing quartered up, get her on ice, get her in the freezer, and get back out there. Hopefully you guys got some success. Use some of these tips. Send them in to thirdgenerationoutdoors.com, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks, guys.